The room is a temple to aggressive minimalism. It is located on the 55th floor, encased in glass. The world outside is a gray, desaturated wash of rain and steel. The city of London, or New York, looks like a circuit board from this height. The light inside is cold. 6,000 Kelvin blue-white LED strips hidden in the ceiling coves. There are no shadows here, only hard edges. In the center of the room dominates the table. It is a 20-foot slab of obsidian marble, veined with white, polished to a mirror finish. It looks less like furniture and more like an altar. Seated around it are the 7 architects. These are men who have not flown commercial in 2 decades. They wear bespoke Savile Row suits in varying shades of midnight blue and charcoal. Their cuffs are monogrammed. Their watches are Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin, timepieces that whisper wealth rather than scream it. They are silent. They are waiting. The camera tracks slowly, painfully slowly, down the length of the marble table. We pass Julian Sterling, 60s, CEO. Silver hair, immaculate grooming, but his eyes are darting. He is tapping his index finger on the marble. Tap, tap, tap. A nervous tick he thinks no one notices. Alistair Vance, 50s, COO. The Predator. Broad shoulders, a jawline that looks carved from granite, eyes that assess everything for weakness. He is checking his reflection in his turned-off tablet screen. The junior executives, identical in ambition, differing only in tie color. They are terrified of Vance and dismissive of everything else. The camera continues to the far end of the table, the overflow seat, the spot usually reserved for a legal aid or a jagged intern. David, 42. He disrupts the visual harmony of the room violently. He is a black man with a face etched by fatigue but anchored by a profound, stoic calm. He is not wearing a suit. He is wearing a gray, heathered zip-up hoodie over a plain white t-shirt. The hoodie is clean but worn at the elbows. His pants are dark denim, slightly faded at the knees. His shoes are white casual sneakers, scuffed at the toe, the laces tied in a hurry. But it is what sits on the table in front of him that draws the eye. The other men have ultra-slim tablets, crystal carafes of water, and leather-bound notepads. David has a bright yellow plastic lunchbox. It features a cartoon robot. The plastic is scratched. The latch is slightly broken. Next to it, a juice box, apple, and a coloring book, folded open to a page half filled with orange crayon. David does not look around. He does not check a phone. He does not fidget. He stares at his hands, which are clasped loosely on the table. He is practicing a stillness that the other men in the room have never mastered. The atmosphere. The air in the room thickens. The presence of the hoodie, the sneakers, and the lunchbox is an affront to the sanctity of the boardroom. The executives use their peripheral vision. They exchange micro-expressions, a raised eyebrow from the VP of sales, a subtle sneer from the director of logistics, a confused glance from the secretary. They are asking a silent question. Why is he here? And the follow-up. Who let him in? Close up on Julian Sterling, CEO. Julian knows. A bead of sweat forms at his hairline, despite the aggressive air conditioning. He looks at David. For a split second, there is recognition. Julian opens his mouth to speak, to introduce, to explain. But then, he catches the eye of Alistair Vance. Vance looks annoyed. Julian's courage dissolves. He closes his mouth. He looks down at his agenda. He chooses the path of least resistance. He chooses silence. Narrator, VO. Voice is low, rich, detached, like a nature documentarian observing a kill. There is a specific gravity to corporate silence. It crushes. It tells you that you are small. It tells you that you are invisible until granted permission to exist. Most men would leave. Most men would apologize. David just breathes. Action. David moves. The sound of his nylon jacket shifting against the chair is loud in the quiet room. Swish. He reaches into the front pocket of his hoodie. The executives flinch. The director of logistics actually pulls back from the table. Is it a weapon? A recording device? David pulls out a pair of cheap, wire-rimmed reading glasses. He unfolds them. One arm is slightly bent. He puts them on. He looks at the empty space on the table where a tablet should be. He waits. The hook. The clock on the wall clicks. 10 a.m. The meeting is scheduled to begin. No one speaks to David. No one offers him water. No one asks for his name. They are waiting for the system to correct the error. They are waiting for him to feel the shame and remove himself. David does not remove himself. He reaches for the juice box. He rotates it 90 degrees so the label faces the CEO. A tiny, deliberate adjustment. Alistair Vance, COO, has had enough. He stands up. He does not stand up to greet anyone. He stands up to maximize his height, to cast a shadow. He picks up a heavy stack of bound dossiers, the red files. Confidential, level 5 clearance. Vance. His voice is a baritone rumble, smooth but laced with razor blades. Gentlemen, thank you for assembling on such short notice. The liquidity event regarding the Kowloon merger is time-sensitive. Vance begins to walk around the table. He is the distributor of knowledge. He drops a dossier in front of the VP. Thud. He drops one in front of the secretary. Thud. He walks past Julian Sterling. He places a dossier gently in front of the CEO, a gesture of mock deference. Slap. Vance rounds the corner of the long table. He approaches David. The rhythmic click-clack of Vance's Italian leather shoes against the marble floor is the only sound in the world. Click, clack, click, clack. He stops 2 feet from David's chair. Vance holds the final dossier in his hand. He looks at it. Then he looks at David. He looks at the hoodie, the scuffed sneakers, the yellow lunchbox. Vance sighs. It is a sigh of exhausted patience. He tucks the dossier under his arm. He does not give it to David. Vance, softly with a tight, pained smile. I believe there has been a mix-up with the temp agency. David slowly lifts his head. Through the wire-rimmed glasses, his eyes are unreadable. David, voice is gravelly, quiet. I'm not from an agency. Vance, chuckling, looking back at the other executives for validation. Of course. My apologies. The courier service, then. Look, friend, if you're waiting for a signature on a package, the mailroom intake is on the B2 level. You take the service elevator near the loading dock. David. I'm not a courier. Vance. The smile drops. The temperature drops. Then you are lost, because this room is for executive officers and equity partners. The janitorial staff doesn't service this floor until 6 p.m. The insult hangs in the air. It is gross and direct. David does not blink. He does not get angry. He looks at Julian Sterling at the head of the table. David Julian. The use of the first name sends a shockwave through the room. A man in a hoodie calling the CEO by his first name. All eyes turn to Julian Sterling. Julian turns pale. He fumbles with his water glass. He looks at Vance, who is staring at him with intensity. Julian has a second chance to do the right thing. Julian, stammering, avoiding David's gaze. I don't. Alistair is right. We have a strict manifest today. Sensitive data. Julian looks at his papers, his voice dropping to a whisper. Julian, maybe you should wait in the lobby. Narrator, VO. Betrayal doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just looks at its shoes. Vance, emboldened by the CEO's cowardice. There you have it. The CEO doesn't know you. I don't know you. And frankly, your presence is making the stakeholders uncomfortable. Vance leans down, placing both hands on the marble table, invading David's personal space. He smells of expensive cologne and aggression. Vance. We are discussing the acquisition of a multinational logistics firm. This isn't a place for observers. Please, remove yourself before I have to call building security. It would be embarrassing for you to be escorted out in front of the secretaries. David. He holds Vance's gaze for a long, uncomfortable 5 seconds. I'll stay. Vance. Blinking, taken aback. Excuse me? David, I'll stay until the briefing is done. If I'm in the wrong room, I'll leave then. Vance laughs. It is a harsh barking sound. Vance, fine, sit there, be silent, but understand that everything you hear is covered by a non-disclosure agreement that would bury you in litigation for the next 3 lifetimes. Vance turns his back on David, dismissing him as a non-entity. He walks back to the head of the room. He taps his tablet. The lights dim. A projector screen descends from the ceiling. Vance, loudly projecting authority. Ignore the spectator. Let's look at the numbers. David opens the yellow lunchbox again. Click. He takes out a small napkin. He unfolds it. He places it on his knee. He is staying. The meeting drags on for 20 minutes. It is a barrage of graphs, charts, and acronyms. EBITDA, ROI, YOI. Vance is in his element. He is pacing, pointing, commanding. He is outlining a strategy to acquire a competitor, the Acheron Group. Vance, pointing to a complex flowchart on the screen. The brilliance of this acquisition lies in the Shanghai subsidiary. By leveraging the cross-border debt instruments, we can effectively absorb their assets while dissolving their pension liabilities. The executives nod. They don't fully understand the math, but they trust the confidence. Vance, we strip the assets, we liquidate the workforce, we keep the IP. It's a surgical strike. The yield is projected at 22% within the first quarter. Vance pauses for effect. He looks around the room, basking in the approval. Then, a sound comes from the end of the table. David, no. It is not loud, but it cuts through the room like a knife. Vance freezes. He turns slowly. Vance, incredulous. Did you say something? David, still looking at the screen, not at Vance. I said no. Your yield isn't 22%. It's -8%. The room goes deathly silent. The VP of Finance scoffs. Vance, walking back toward David, furious. I tried to be polite. I tried to be accommodating, but you are now interrupting $1 billion strategic alignment. David, it's not $1 billion. It's a bankruptcy waiting to happen. David stands up. He moves slowly, stiffly, like a man whose back hurts from carrying too much weight. He walks toward the screen. The executives watch him. They should stop him. But his confidence is confusing them. He doesn't walk like an intruder. He walks like an owner. David stops in front of the glowing projection. He points a calloused finger at the bottom right corner of the spreadsheet. Line 42. David, you're basing the debt restructuring on the 14B maritime tax loophole. Vance, crossing his arms, standard industry practice. David, it was standard. Until 4 a.m. this morning. David turns to face the room. He takes off his glasses and cleans them on his hoodie. David, the Shanghai Regulatory Commission passed an emergency amendment last night. They closed the loophole. They applied a retroactive tariff on all foreign-held debt instruments in the logistics sector. David looks directly at the VP of Legal. David, check it. Article 7, Section C of the new Trade Compliance Code. Vance, sputtering. That's impossible. We would have been notified. David, you weren't notified because you don't read the raw data. You read the summaries your interns write for you. David gestures to the VP of Legal. David, look it up, now. The command is absolute. The VP of Legal scrambles to his laptop. His fingers fly across the keyboard. The sound of typing is frantic. Vance stands there, sweating. He looks at Julian. Julian is staring at David with wide, terrified eyes. VP of Legal. His voice breaks. Oh my God. Vance. What? What is it? VP of Legal, turning his laptop around. He's right. The timestamp is 0412, Shanghai Standard Time. The loophole is closed. The retroactive tariff is, it's 40%. The impact. A collective gasp goes through the room. The VP of Finance does the mental math. VP of Finance, if we sign this deal. With a 40% tariff. David, you trigger a margin call on your own stock. You don't just lose money. You commit securities fraud because you've already promised the shareholders a 22% yield. The SEC would raid this building before the ink was dry. David walks back to his chair. He picks up the yellow lunchbox. He zips up his hoodie. David, to Vance, you were about to destroy this company to get a bonus. David, to Julian, and you were going to let him do it because you were too scared to ask the man in the hoodie why he was here. The power in the room has shifted. Tectonically. Vance looks small. He is deflated. Julian looks like a ghost. Vance, whispering, Who are you? David doesn't answer. He slings the satchel over his shoulder. He walks to the door. David, stopping at the threshold. You should really check your email, Julian. David exits. The heavy oak door closes with a soft final click. He is gone. For 10 seconds, no one breathes. The hum of the projector fan is deafening. Then, the technology takes over. Ding! A notification sound from the main presentation screen. BZZZT. Julian's phone on the table vibrates violently. Chime. The VP's tablet lights up. Beep, beep, beep. A cascade of digital alerts floods the room. It sounds like a slot machine paying out, or a bomb counting down. Visual close-up on the main screen. An urgent email notification overlays the flawed financial chart. The banner is red, high priority. Sender. The Thorn Trust subject. Notice of acquisition and leadership restructuring. Julian's hands are shaking so badly he can barely tap the screen. He opens the email. His face goes gray. All the blood leaves his lips. Julian, reading aloud, his voice a dry husk. To the Board of Directors. Effective immediately, the Thorn Trust has exercised its option to purchase 51% of all outstanding voting shares. Julian stops. He feels like he is going to vomit. Vance leans over the table, reading the text. Vance, reading. We have completed our due diligence. The acquisition is final. Vance scrolls down to the bottom of the email. To the signature block. He freezes. Visual. The signature at the bottom of the email is accompanied by a corporate profile photo. It is a professional studio portrait. The man in the photo is wearing a tuxedo. He is clean-shaven. He looks powerful, commanding, royal. But the eyes are the same. The eyes of the man in the hoodie. The realization, Vance, a whisper of pure horror. That was Thorn, the David Thorn, the private equity ghost. He owns the bank that lends us money. VP of Legal. Why was he dressed like that? Why did he have a lunchbox? Julian, staring at the empty chair. He was testing us. He didn't come to negotiate the price. He knows the price. He came to see the culture. He came to see if we were decent. Julian looks at Vance. Julian. He sat there for 20 minutes. And we treated him like garbage. Vance, defensive, panicked. I was following protocol, security protocol. How was I supposed to know? Ding! A second email appears on the screen. Subject, immediate personnel actions. The room goes silent again. Vance stares at the screen. He knows what it says before he reads it. Effective immediately. The employment of the Chief Operating Officer, Alistair Vance, is terminated for gross incompetence and failure of fiduciary duty. Vance collapses into his chair. He looks at his hands, the hands that threw the dossier. The career he built for 30 years just evaporated in 20 minutes because he judged a book by its cover. The board accepts the immediate resignation of the CEO, Julian Sterling, pending a review of governance failures. Gah! Julian closes his eyes. He rests his forehead on the cold marble table. He doesn't fight it. He knows he deserves it. He had the power to speak. He chose silence, and silence has cost him everything. The rain has stopped. The clouds are breaking, allowing shafts of weak winter sunlight to hit the wet pavement. The glass tower looms above, a monolith of cold commerce. David walks out of the revolving doors. He takes a deep breath of the cool air. He looks relieved. The weight of the boardroom is gone. He walks toward the curb where a simple black sedan is waiting. Not a limo. Just a car. Behind him, the revolving doors spin frantically. Julian Sterling bursts out onto the plaza. He is not wearing his coat. The wind hits him, messing up his perfect silver hair. He looks desperate. He looks old. Julian, Mr. Thorne. He runs, breathless. Mr. Thorne, please. David stops. He has his hand on the car door handle. He turns slowly. He looks at Julian with pity, not anger. Julian skids to a stop a few yards away. He is panting, his chest heaving. Julian, I didn't know. He holds his hands up, pleading. If I had known it was you. The protocol would have been different. I would have offered you a seat at the head. I would have. David, interrupting, his voice soft and sad. That's the problem, Julian. Julian. What? David. If you knew I was rich, you would have treated me with respect. But because you thought I was poor, you treated me like I didn't exist. David taps the yellow lunchbox in his hand. David, character isn't how you treat the people who can help you, Julian. It's how you treat the people who can't. Julian, please, I can fix this. I have a family. I have a mortgage. I've given 30 years to this firm. David. You gave 30 years to the firm, but you didn't give 30 seconds to a human being sitting right in front of you. David opens the car door. Inside, in the back seat, is a little girl, about 6 years old. She is wearing a bright yellow raincoat. She smiles when she sees him. Little girl, Daddy, did you use the lunchbox? David. His face transforms. A genuine, warm smile breaks through. I did, baby. It worked perfectly. He tosses the lunchbox onto the seat next to her. He looks back at Julian one last time. Julian is shivering in the cold, surrounded by the high-rise canyons of the city. He looks incredibly small. David, delivering the final line. You kept your reputation, Julian, but you lost your job. David gets in. Thud. The car door closes. The window is tinted. Julian can no longer see inside. The car pulls away, merging into the traffic of ordinary people, disappearing into the city. Scene. We stay with Julian. He stands alone on the sidewalk. People rush past him. Couriers, students, tourists. None of them look at him. He is now the invisible one. He looks up at the skyscraper. His office is on the 55th floor, but he knows he will never step foot inside it again.